On today's episode, we discuss our grades for the Packers 2025 season and hand out our Sounds Gouda season awards. Stick around to hear our selections from most disappointing player to team MVP. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Sounds Gouda. My name is Jordan Olson, and here with me today, I've got Rob Ralph and Kalani Jones, all of your Sounds Gouda content creators, back together for the first time in what seems like a long time, a very long time, and honestly, a pretty sad time for us as Green Bay Packers fans, content creators, and I'm sure all of you are feeling the same. But we are beginning the healing process. We're going to put some closure on the 2025 season today. And then we're going to start to get into some off-season stuff. But we want to thank any new and returning listeners. We've got new episodes still coming out right now on Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. That may change a little bit as we get into our off-season flow, but we'll make sure to give you an update on what our schedule looks like. Also, become a public subscriber and win a Sounds Gouda hat. New giveaways every 50 subscribers. So I haven't had a chance to really talk about this too much, so we'll talk about it briefly. Rob and Kalani have both had some opportunities to air their grievances. Rob in the Monday episode, and I'm sure Kalani is going to be talking a little bit about it in the Thursday episode, which will come out tomorrow. But this will kind of be my only chance for discussion on this. But the hottest topic in town, what to do with Matt LaFleur. Do you keep him? Do you cut him loose? What does the future of this coaching staff look like? I think I know where Rob and Kalani stand. I feel like I have a slightly different viewpoint, which might make this a good discussion. But I don't know, guys. What do you think? Are you guys both firmly in the camp of it's time to move on from Matt LaFleur, or as we're a few days away from the finality of the season, are we feeling a little different?
I'd say I don't know if I'm firmly in the camp. I I wouldn't be upset if they kept Matt LaFleur. I would, understand why they ended up doing it. I just think that it's time. And I think that there are more reasons to say that we should try to get some trade compensation for Matt and move on as quickly as possible.
I think for me, the trade compensation is the only thing that intrigues me about moving on. If you tell me that you're just and that's not to not have accountability that something doesn't need to change. There clearly needs to be an abundance of change. And if Matt is willing to facilitate that, I think that I'm willing to give him that chance and that opportunity. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm in the camp that the Packers built this window. They moved on from Aaron Rodgers. They rebooted the whole team. They became the youngest team 3 seasons in a row, as we know. And then they kind of, when they felt like the time was right, and I feel like this was an organization all in. We know Ed Policy's now calling the shots at the very top, but I think it was Mark Murphy, it was Brian Gutekunst, it was Matt LaFleur. You get Jordan Love in the building, and it's like, we're going to bring all this together along for an opportunity at 2 or 3 years of doing this. I feel like this was year number 1 in that window. And I kind of feel like I want to see that thing out for 1 or 2 more years. And then if you really need to, just burn it all to the ground after that. The only person that might be left in the ashes is Jordan Love, because he'll be a 29-year-old quarterback that I expect to still be in his prime, and you're not moving on from a great quarterback in his prime. But it might be time for Goody to go at that point in time. It might be time for LaFleur to go. But I feel like there was a collective effort there, and I feel like we were really 2 or 3 plays away from being the NFC North champions, playing for a chance to win against the Vikings, and we'd be having a completely different discussion right now. We're not, though, because we know the results of Saturday night's game, which was what makes this tough. So I don't know. Those are just some of my initial thoughts. I don't know if you guys have any response to any of that, but
I mean, I'm sure most of our subscribers have seen my video, so they know kind of where I stand. It's just paint me a picture where it gets better in the playoffs, guys. Like, I think that there just needs, I don't know. If they haven't, an in-game strategist, coordinator, whatever. I thought I saw some people circling whoever that guy was that he needs to be fired, but you know, 37 to 20, 49ers over the Packers. 31 to 26, Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the Packers in the NFC Championship game. 24-21, San Francisco over Green Bay after we whooped Dallas, right? For sure. So give credit where credit is due. 13-10, still with Rodgers. San Francisco over Green Bay. 22-10 last year. Eagles over Packers. You're up 21-3 with getting the ball at halftime. It's a results orientated business. Now, I totally understand, the year end with this whole plan with Micah Parsons. I do get that, but it's like, and I've said this, it's the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and over again and
mhm,
expecting a different result. So it's like, haven't seen this once, we haven't seen this twice, we haven't seen it 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, I'm still going. And to me, he's saying the same things in the presser, but then it's not getting addressed. Slide protection, we didn't cover on protection. There was free rushers. How could
mhm,
it have been that bad? I get it. Dennis Allen changes his scheme, is blitzing a lot more creatively, and just blitzing more, in general. But throughout this year, haven't we seen Jordan Love consistently play pretty decent against the blitz this year? So
And it's not
why
like they were the only team that blitzed us.
I just like okay, the offensive line pooped the bed. I totally understand that in that second half.
mhm,
It was atrocious. Rashad Walker, he's going to be gone. Actually, Banks held up, somewhat decent, but Belton got ran over more than a couple of times too on
Yeah.
some pretty easy rushes. So I get it, and a part of this is player execution too as well. There's been multiple,
mhm,
ex players, different people in the building talking about it's a culture thing. These players really need to step up. I totally understand that, but like if I'm putting this in some sort of like analogy for this, if this is like my job, if I know I have the same project with the same rules, with the same game every year, slightly different right on the opponent that you're going to play and stuff, and I consistently fail at that every single year, and we know what's coming, considering the variables and stuff, I'd be out of a job myself in my own real
mhm.
working life. So as a results oriented business, I feel like our culture needs a lot more grit, a lot more discipline, and a lot more accountability. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, and like you said, Jordan, my video comes out tomorrow, so I won't get too far into it. But one thing I didn't really talk about in mine that you did, so I just kind of want to touch on that real quick. I do think Matt deserves a little bit of credit for having the youngest lost roster in the league 3 years in a row and taking that roster to the playoffs. Now, I
Mhm,
do also kind of think maybe there's something to a little bit of disconnect between Gutekunst and LaFleur as far as
mhm,
Gutekunst wants this young roster. He wants those
mhm,
cheap contracts rotating through. LaFleur probably doesn't want that, if we're being honest,
mhm,
right? He probably wants some vet players who know what they're doing. And maybe that's something that we haven't quite considered yet. But
mhm.
I do think he deserves a little bit of credit for that.
Yeah, you mean you look at Aaron Rodgers at the end of his career, right? He was adamant against rookies who would have to come in and spend a year or two learning the system because they didn't help win football games
Yeah.
at that point in time, right? So Matt LaFleur's had a constant barrage of having to educate player year after year to try to get integrated into his system, which we hear from the players, especially players like Micah Parsons and others that join that can see how complicated his scheme is. I mean, Tucker Kraft basically just said at the end of his year, it's taken me 3 years to understand the complexities of this offense. And once you do, it's brilliant. But rookie. I mean, you look at Matthew Golden, everybody's been so hard on him. Matthew Golden is going to be a great player in this league. You can see the offensive skills and talent that he has. So I just want everybody to be patient with him. But you take our top 10 players besides Xavier McKinney, every one of them missed 2 games or more this season. I mean, and 4 of them ended on season-ending IR or couldn't finish the last 4 games of the season because they're going to have off-season surgery. So I'm not here to make more excuses for Matt. I just wanted to go on record. My gut says keep him. And it's different for me for some reason because when it was time to move on from Mike McCarthy, I was adamant at the time that it was time to move on. When it was time to move on from Aaron Rodgers, which it's hard to move on from Aaron Rodgers, I was adamant at the time we needed to move on from Aaron Rodgers. And I just don't have that feeling right now. And it's just my gut. And a year from now, you might all be telling me, Jordan, you were a huge fool. We kept him and see, we ended up in the same place. But I'll be the first to admit if it happens, if we run it back again and I was wrong, then I guess I'm just loyal to a fault. But
Well,
I
vice
don't know.
versa, Jordan.
Yeah.
Same thing for me, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
blow it all up, get new people in, poop the bed, waste Micah Parsons. So I mean, we don't know. We're just gut feelings, reactions, and hopes for a really good organization that we love.
Couple of guys ranting on the internet, but
Yeah.
let's get into some season grades. We got plenty to talk about here. Let's start with the offense in totality. And we've shared plenty of thoughts about Matt LaFleur right now, but on a B, C, D, F scale, you can add pluses, minuses. What grade do you give the Packers offense in totality for this season? Just you guys are thinking about it. I'll jump in with my thoughts. I kind of think that I give them a B minus on the season. We saw some really brilliant games. We saw some really great, play calls from Matt. And then we saw like 3 games where the offense went flat altogether at time periods, right? So, I mean, they get a B minus in my book because I know that the ability is there. And I think statistically they still finished close to a top 10 offense in the league. I think that's got to count for something. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I also went with a B minus, and most of that dragging it down was the offensive line. Just the total lack of cohesion there. Like you said, they were still, if not top 10, then probably right there in any metric you want to think of. Jordan Love was an MVP candidate just a few weeks ago and couldn't get it done, but I feel like a B minus feels right.
I laughed because it's immediately the first grade that I had that popped in my head too from you guys. I'm sorry. C plus. There we go. I'll mix it up. Oh, here we go. I'll go C
You don't
plus.
have to change it. You know that the natural instinct of all of us.
B minus, and you guys hit the nails, right on the head. I mean, I thought they came out swinging those first couple of games. Man, the defense was playing lights out. Yeah. And then you had the lull with like the Eagles and like the Panthers game, where they were trying to figure out, and then they did, and they got on a streak, and then Denver, just second half, you go for the kill shot, and ever since then, it's just been doom and gloom for the Packers. So, yeah, I think B minus. They can be so electric. They can be so good. Like they showed in that first half of this Bears game. And if Matt LaFleur doesn't play not to lose, he plays to win, and doesn't take his foot off the pedal. Offensive line holds up a little bit better. Yada yada yada. We get some push in the run game. That wasn't going anywhere. I think that this offense is capable of doing quite a bit. When you have a really good MVP caliber player like Jordan Love distributing the ball, anything can happen.
Let's stay right there. I got a little different order, but we might as well stay with the offense and finish Jordan's grade and Matt's grade, and then we can move to the defense. But Jordan Love, Rob, what grade did you give him on the season?
Yeah, so it's tinkering between a B plus and an A minus for me. Probably A minus. I thought he did a really, really good job this year. Only 6 interceptions. His receivers, we talked about before the year, his completed
Mhm.
percentage was going to be able to go up if his receivers weren't going to be able to drop, as many passes as they did the year before. I believe that was the case, right, with doing a complete deep dive into the weeds of the stats from the season. So yeah, he did really, really, really well. I thought that there was moments where he just absolutely played unstoppable, and then there was just some lulls or into the season, like I've already alluded to, Panthers, Eagles, even like the Denver game, where it just gets into a period where you just kind of get into a funk, and the whole team kind of can't, get out of it, get out of their own way, and then kind of things snowball from there. But he's got command of this offense. He's got good rapport with the receivers. I thought he made some really good, checks this year too. He seems like he has complete command of the offense, and I think he's ascending. I think he's probably top 7 quarterback in the league for sure, at least statistically to me. So, A minus for me.
Kalani.
I've got a straight A on Jordan Love. Top
Mhm.
5 quarterback according to PFF. He had the 5th highest, 92, I think it was. I might be wrong on that. Hold on. 85. Top 5 grade. I thought he really took a step in commanding the offense this year,
Mhm.
and I thought that kind of let him actually show again some of those things that he showed us in 2023.
Mhm.
Giants game before he got knocked out of there, the Lions game on Thanksgiving, the end of the Pittsburgh game, wildly successful within the structure of the offense.
Mhm.
I still wish he would learn to take off and run a little bit more. Like there was that play in the Bears game, easy walk-in first down, basically. Straight A for me.
Yeah, I had the same. Finished the season number 2 in EPA per play. I think that if he would have played healthy the entire year, probably would have finished third in MVP voting. Yeah, I thought he was outstanding. Plus, I thought he played an outstanding playoff game against the Bears. I really did. His
Agreed.
offensive line really failed him. Pretty much sounds like looking at the tape, Rasheed Walker ended 3 consecutive drives to start the second half and never really gave that offense a chance to get going again. He still found a way to put another touchdown on the board. I thought Jordan balled out this season. And Rob, I think you're totally right. If anybody tries to say that he's not definitively in the top 6 or 7 guys going into next season, I think they're crazy. Matt LaFleur, I'm here talking about keeping him. I given him a straight D on the season though. So I want to keep him, but my accountability in his grade, I hope reflects that. He's got to be better. He's got to make some change. I think he needs to not be loyal to a fault. Rich Bisaccia's got to go. I think they need to figure out a new plan for the offensive line, whether Steno needs to just go back and focus on that, or Buckus, he might have to go. He's got a couple levers he can pull, but he's got to put his money where his mouth is. Got a little stuck in execution of some of his play calling when things weren't going well. I understand they go through the week, they put the install in, maybe the details weren't there, but he's got to pivot off of it when it's time. So, what do you guys think
Go ahead,
about
Kalani.
grading?
So that's funny because I had a B minus on Matt LaFleur for the year. Good, but just not good enough. Like we've talked about just too many times where kind of actively keeping the Packers from winning the game. I'm going to talk about
Mm-hmm.
specifically at the end of the Dallas game, that last drive where it's obvious that he's playing to tie and not playing to win. The injuries, you got to take the injuries into account, but just just not good enough. And I think that for a team in their Super Bowl window, you can look a little higher. You can have bigger expectations. So B
Mm-hmm.
minus for me,
C minus. So here we go. We're all
all across the board.
yeah. I love that we figured out from Matt LaFleur, whether he was going to go for it or not. It seemed like this year he's like, we're going for it. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
quite Dan Campbell 24/7 going for it all the time, but I felt like that was kind of like he lived in the gray area, the last few years on that. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one of those things, right? We talked about Jordan that we wanted to see him just be definitive, just pick one or the other. What else? He is a really good loyalty can have pros and cons, right? I would say more cons in situations and scenarios like this, especially with results oriented type of league when you have to let go of your friend or your close colleague, I guess I'll say. But he commands a lot of respect from his players. And that means a whole hell of a lot. He's embedded in the culture. He loves the organization. He's from the Midwest. Yada yada yada. Think that at times he needs to utilize a lot more common sense, and I think this is more specifically tied into an examples of um, utilizing your resources a little bit more accurately. I.e., Jordan Morgan is not working out at right guard. We saw that for how many damn games in a row. And I get maybe he's just not making those calls where it comes back to like a Buckus type of thing. But that and like Matthew Golden, I get it. It's his first year, and like historically, maybe minus like Christian Watson, who I thought got some playing time right away in his first year, right? Correct me, guys, if I'm wrong, but like,
Dobbs
That
too.
whole core was young that year, though. I mean, who else did they
yeah,
really have besides Dobbs? I mean, a
MVS.
couple of those guys had to play, and that was Aaron's
Yeah.
frustration, right? He's like, "You're gonna stick me with all these young guys," but
if Bo Melton wasn't injured and was playing, we wouldn't have seen the performance that we did for Matthew Golden in the Bears game. Would either of you disagree with that?
No. I think Bo probably gets those snaps.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe I'm completely off.
I don't know. I kind of had a conspiracy theory all week that Steno made his comments that everybody was really mad about, that Golden wouldn't get any time in that game to throw the Bears off that scent. But you're probably right. It probably would
Yeah,
have been
well,
Bo, but
yeah, but okay. Well, we found out a lot of things about Matthew Golden that we saw a lot of the training camp. That you just heard this guy with this kid's unstoppable. He's a really good route runner. He's fast. Did he have any drops this year?
Yeah, I'm sure he
Somebody
did. I think he did.
Okay, somebody can fact check us there in the comments if he had any.
they
If
were
he did,
minimal when, yeah.
Yeah.
exactly. And he's really good at yards after catch. If you didn't know, because he made about 15 people miss on that one wide receiver screen that he scored the touchdown on. So anyway, my point is utilize your players. I'm not saying you needed to force feed Matthew Golden this year. There's a ton of more experience and depth ahead of him. I would just have liked to have seen some more drives and schemes within game plans that just involved him, got his confidence level up a little bit more. And then the Jordan Morgan thing of it all, I thought that was pretty obvious from that start too. So immediately when they got Anthony Belton in there at right guard, I thought that offensive line immediately got a lot better, and more specifically in the run game. So yes, there is moments in the season where I think he just, like, when he gets in a good flow and he's cooking, it's awesome. And then he sets his mind and he's like, okay, we're up, we're good, we're comfortable, we're going to run the clock, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then he doesn't have a game plan for when that game plan fails, which is why I'm like, I think we need a really good in-game strategist or something that's like, okay, we're getting pressures from this side pretty consistently, blah, 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 blah. You can identify it within a drive or two earlier, right? The first, what was it, first four and outs in that Bear
First
game?
four were, I think one of them was like a 5-and-out or something.
That needs to be a lot quicker, being able to identify it, diagnose it, and then have a plan or two to be able to attack that stuff. So I think that needs to get better. It's a really tough league to win. I totally understand it, and I could just eat a ton of crow this next year, if Matt LaFleur doesn't ends up getting the boot. I don't think he will. I think he'll get an extension, and then I think he'll let go of some coaches, including Rich Bisaccia, which has already been all over the news. So I'm very long-winded here, but yes, Matt LaFleur C- for me for a multitude of different reasons, and I think we need to start over. But that's just me.
We'll try to be briefer on these next
Yeah.
ones, but we'll see. Rob, what's your 30-second defensive grade?
Yeah. Yeah.
Put you on
Right.
the clock.
Yeah. How is it? So the defense team as a total?
Yeah, just total defense. I mean, if you want to, I don't have one specifically for Jeff Halfley, so if you want to, grade him in that equation too. What did you
Man,
think of how the defense performed this year?
I'll probably go C plus. That was the one three really good highlights as far as that defense goes. I thought that they showed a lot of really good capabilities of the type of defense that they could be, i.e., the first 2 games of the season was just absolute insanity with the energy and effort. And granted, a lot of injuries though there too as well, so I totally understand that. But for me, a C plus.
Kalani, how about you?
Yeah, so I'm kind of changing my grade in real time here, but I'm actually going to give the defense a B plus. And the reason I'm going so high on them is that outside of 2 games, really, was the Ravens game and the Vikings game at the end. The Packers had a chance to win every single game
That's a good
that
point.
they played this year. And unless like obviously we don't have one of those elite defenses like the Texans or the Seahawks, but generally that's what you want out of your defense. You want them to give you the opportunity to win. They kind of fell apart towards the end. They lost Micah. That's not in anybody's control. I think Jeff Hafley is amazing. Whether we lose him or not, good luck to him in the future.
Mm-hmm.
The cornerbacks, the interior defensive line, obviously a lot to be desired, but I still think as a whole, the defense did their job, which was to give the
Mm-hmm.
team a chance to win.
Yeah, I gave him a B minus. I think it could be easy to really beat the unit up based on the expectations after acquiring Parsons, going into Hafley's second year. You're expecting a rise out of Edgerrin Cooper. I think there's a lot of reasons to be disappointed, especially with a couple of the games like the Ravens game and whatever. But I think overall, we saw probably 5 or 6 dominant performances from this unit throughout the year. As you said, the defense was not the reason, with the exception of once, maybe twice, that they lost the game. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of the unit. I think they could have responded better once Parsons went down. They still have to find a way to rush the passer without him on the field. And we'll see if we can figure that out in the offseason. And then Goody, the man who puts all the personnel out there for Jeff Hafley, Matt LaFleur, Rich Bisaccia, and crew. I'm going to give him an A minus. I'll start the grade on this one. His draft class didn't contribute a lot this year, but he did go out. He made the all-in splash for Micah Parsons. I feel like he's been building this roster to kind of mature together. We know it's the youngest again for the 3rd season in a row. But he exercised a lot of things on the fringes. He tried Trayvon Diggs. He, especially in the last 3-4 weeks of the season, a lot of roster transactions trying to maximize things. I really thought that Goody tried to put together a pretty good roster overall this season.
Go ahead, Kalani.
Yeah, I also did an A minus. Obviously, those 2 free agents we signed last off season were pretty massive busts. I think that's kind of canceled out by the year before, getting Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney, so I'm willing to kind of wash that. I think the most impressive thing about Goody is he's built basically 2 iterations of the Packers that could have or still could win the Super Bowl. 2020, 2021 Packers and the ones we have now with minimal time in between. I think he's great. I think he could have, like I just said, could have addressed the quarterbacks and the defensive tackles a little bit more, but he's also been able to fix those positions really quickly in the past. Like think about the safety group from 2023 to 2024. He's able to make those quick adjustments to the roster, and I think he is one of the better GMs in the league.
Yeah, I think he's pretty good. I will go a B plus. I love all the thoughts and the stuff you guys are saying. He goes all in for Micah Parsons, right? That alone should maybe move him up to the A category, in my opinion. That is pretty awesome. The only thing that kind of maybe brings him down this year is and Drew Dahlman. I would have really have loved Drew Dahlman this year for the Green Bay Packers.
We're gonna keep harping on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's that move. If you would have signed Drew Dahlman versus Aaron Banks, just think of the ripple effects that would have had
Yep.
in season
Yep.
and for this coming off season. You
Exactly.
wouldn't be looking at so many. Your offensive line would have performed a lot better. You could have moved off some of these guys without, having to worry about replacing them. You could just address corner and defensive tackle. But
And
yeah,
the Bears
before I,
don't
I
have
give
them.
the mic, yeah, the Bears don't have them exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So sorry, go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, yeah. So, getting Banks and Hobbs, who like both just as, fans, right? We're like, what the hell? Banks is injured, quite often. That was a well-known thing. Hobbs, right, injured quite a bit though too as well. And that was same sort of stuff happened that year. This draft class. Love what he did with drafting Matthew Golden. Obviously, Jordan, you were there. That was absolutely electric. Really wish they would have utilized him a little bit differently this year. So yeah, there's some more things I could pick at, but B plus for me. So pretty much right in line with you guys.
Yeah, it's just like I think, you mentioned the defensive interior depth, and I think Goody had it right where he wanted with Kenny Clark and
Yeah.
Devontae Wyatt, and it's just
Yeah.
and Carl Brooks or whatever, but then he just saw an opportunity too good to pass along, and like that was seemingly just the key to get Micah Parsons, and he's just like, okay, well, I got to get Micah Parsons,
Yeah.
so we'll
You make
figure
that
this piece out.
100 times out of 100.
Yeah. So let's get into some season awards. We've got a number of categories for you. We're going to each give a nomination. Maybe sometimes we'll all have the same nomination. We'll decide on who our official Sounds Gouda winner is, and we'll have a little bit of fun with this. So starting with team MVP, in my opinion, there's really only two guys that you could realistically nominate for this. And I guess I'll put my nomination out there is Micah Parsons. I don't know if you guys have a different player in mind as your true MVP vote.
Yes.
No, it's Micah Parsons for me as well.
Jordan Love for me.
And there you go. There's the two that you really can't choose anybody besides them. I mean, Micah Parsons completely changed the math on this defense. You could argue, one of the best players in the league, and he had a great season. He was on his way to an historic season. And then Jordan Love, we've already discussed it. If he would have played all 17 games, probably would have been right there as, getting second or third votes as the MVP of this league, and two outstanding players. So I guess given that it's 2 votes to 1, Micah Parsons is our Sounds Gouda 2025 MVP. But
I'm okay
very
with that.
honorable,
Yeah.
very honorable mention to Jordan Love in this case. Offensive Player of the Year. This one might be easy.
Yeah.
Rob, what's your nomination for Offensive Player of the Year?
Yeah, Jordan Love. Shocker.
Yeah,
Jordan Love.
Jordan Love for me as well. I did, as I had put together my thoughts, though, I did have a small consideration for Christian Watson. I know he did not play the entire year, but obviously the whole equation and dynamics of the offense significantly changed when he was on the field. And that's why I would just give him like a little honorable mention for Offensive Player of the Year. You could say the same for Tucker Kraft, but his season ended very early.
He'd have been up
Watson.
there. He'd have been up there in that
Oh
category.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, obviously our MVP. Do we have to talk about anybody else besides Micah Parsons for this category?
Keyshawn
will
Nixon.
say-
No, I'm.
Colby Wooden played a lot better this year, man. Woohoo, Colby Wooden. No. Evan Williams, man.
Yep.
He had a hell of a year, man. Not Parsons for sure, but I just want to give a second shout out to Evan Williams.
Bill Huber wrote a great article, I think, about him being a future All-Pro and how he's going to be a key to the Packers eventually winning a championship, and very, very underrated player on this roster.
Mm-hmm. He got an All-Pro vote this year.
Yeah, well deserved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well deserved. Specialist of the Year. I really think that there's only one straightforward choice here.
Yep, it's pretty straightforward so far.
Daniel Whalen.
The Irish Bomb, Daniel Whalen.
Yeah,
He was
Daniel Whalen.
great. I think did I hear that he finished number 1 in the NFL and average yards per punt?
I
I
don't know
think.
off the top of my head. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yep. Yep. Think
But
so.
we just saw him change the complexity of the game when he was called upon time and time again. He's the best punter we've had in a number of years, and I think that he's probably one of the best 5 punters in this game. So we obviously aren't having any discussions about what our kicker's doing for us.
No. And one more thing for Whalen too is that in some years past he has kind of struggled when the weather's got a
Mhm.
little colder. He did not do that this year.
Yeah, he definitely is evolving. So um, rookie of the year. I started to think about this one, and I really think it's pretty straightforward, but I'd be willing to hear either of your arguments on anybody else. But Kalani, who was your player that you nominated?
That would be Anthony Belton.
It has to be, right?
Yeah,
When you do the math, it only comes out to Anthony Belton.
yeah. But also a
Uh,
great job of, a position change going from a tackle only in college and playing like maybe not amazing at guard in the NFL, but he was definitely part of, kind of that last third of the season. The offensive line kind of started to get its stuff together. He was definitely a part of that.
mhm.
1000% he was. Yeah, we started able to run the football a lot better there
Yeah.
between the tackles and the interior. Yep.
I expect that he'll be entrenched in that role going into next year. He's going to have to be because there's going to be a lot of change on that line, and we're going to need some continuity. But a whole season
Yep.
to prepare at the NFL level, prepare to play that role, probably be locked in instead of being moved around and cross trained. I expect a good sophomore season out of Anthony Belton
Yeah.
at this point in time.
Agreed.
So now I think this is where things could get interesting, although I feel like we're all going to come up with the same conclusion as well. Maybe a few more nominations, but
Yeah.
who was your guys' most disappointing player of the season?
With Rasheed Walker, but I'd also put a little nudge in there for the Packers strength and conditioning staff, if I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah.
But it's got to be Rasheed Walker.
There's no rules here at Sounds Gouda. You want to nominate an entire strength and conditioning staff, we can put that in the books. Rasheed Walker, I think, ended up second on my list, actually. Rob, who was your nomination?
Yeah, Rasheed Walker is a great one. So I mean, there's more than a few, but how could it not be Rashawn Gary,
Mhm.
team
Yep.
captain,
Yep.
jogging on plays? Started off halfway decent, but man, just lost it all. And it's not like yeah, he just he didn't have the juice anymore. Like even I don't know if it was just like straight ACL, but like I was looking at some highlights and stuff from him pre ACL. I was thinking like that when the Niners came, right? We lost to them by that field goal. They came up
Yeah.
here. It was kind of that defensive
Mhm.
battle. It was really snowy. Man, like
Oh yeah.
Gary was all over in that
Mhm.
game. What happened to that guy? He just lost some juice, lost
Mhm.
some steps, and then conditioning. So yeah, the strength and conditioning, I totally agree, Kalani.
Yep.
Mhm.
He went out the window with that. So Rashawn Gary easily's got to be B. Plus, you got Micah Parsons there eating up 2, 3
Yeah. That's that's
offensive
that's
linemen at
where
a
it
time,
comes
and you
to
still
me.
can't get home. Yeah.
That's what cemented it as Rashawn Gary for me.
Yeah.
So I'll settle this tie, and our most sounds good and most disappointing player will be Rashawn Gary. I could have bought late in the season that Gary's production falling off without Micah Parsons, but when he was non-existent, the last 4 or 5 games that they did play together healthy, I mean that was very telling for me that he just something's not working out with
Yeah.
Rashawn Gary right now, and that's sad. That is a little bit of, it's hard to read because we know that Goody has a little bit of problem with his first round picks. And now you kind of add Rashawn Gary never really materializing and probably going to be a cut candidate this offseason to that. But, who knows? Maybe John Eric Sullivan was the guy influencing Goody heavily on these first rounders, and that maybe our fortunes will change. But all right, some fun ones. Glue guy. Who is your glue guy for the 2025 season for the Green Bay Packers?
For
Go
me,
ahead, Rob.
it's Tucker Kraft. Everything you want in a Green Bay Packer is Tucker Kraft, Mr. Ice Fisherman, smoking a cigarette, Carhartt wearing redneck Tucker Kraft, man. He love him. He embodies the culture. He's more of your player that'll actually punch somebody in their face. Likes to get his hands dirty, his body dirty. So yeah, man, Tucker Kraft for me.
Yeah, mine was also Tucker Kraft. All the reasons you said. He's one of the leaders on this team, and he's one of those guys who will actually stand up for his teammates. All that stuff with the line safety. His name's escaping me.
Branch or
Yeah,
Kirby Joseph.
Kirby Joseph.
yeah,
That was
they're
great.
both pricks.
Yeah, they are. They definitely are. But that's what you want out of a leader. And then just to see those couple weeks after he went down, when the offense kind of struggled to figure figure out what it was going to do. It was Tucker Kraft for me.
I love that. I nominated somebody else, even though Tucker Kraft is my favorite player on the Packers roster, and I could totally get down for that. But Josh Jacobs was my glue guy for this season. You could see how much he meant to the team, how much he continued to try to put himself out there to play. And I think it was really telling in the playoffs when he had to go to Matt and he had to say, let me return those kicks to give this team a spark, right? I think that, and his teammates love him. The press loves him. I think he's just a really big culture guy, and I would nominate Josh Jacobs. But you guys both went with Tucker Kraft, so Tucker Kraft is our 2025 glue guy. Tough guy award. What do you guys got for that one?
Go ahead, Kalani.
I had Josh Jacobs for my tough guy award. Like you said, playing through that injury for so long in the second half of the year, but also just some of those runs when you can just tell that there is absolutely nobody who's going to stop Josh Jacobs from getting what he wants.
Same for me, absolutely, for all the points that Kalani alluded to. He's probably hobbling on one leg for about half that season and still showed up and tried to do his best. And even with the poor performance for most of the year from the offensive line, I thought he did a pretty hell of a job. So Josh Jacobs for me.
I'm going to lose another one here unless I can convince you guys to come. I might have a more compelling argument here, although
yours is good.
I thought my one for Josh Jacobs was okay for glue guy, but how about Zach Tom for tough guy? I don't think that guy played more than 20 healthy snaps the entire season. He got hurt early in that Lions game, dealt with 3 separate injuries, right? He had the oblique and then the back issue, and then ultimately the partially torn patella tendon that ended his season, trying to play through that to play in the playoff game. And I guess he was damn close. And then to do all of that, and then I think according to PFF, finish second highest right tackle according to their grades. So, he's out there talking about blacking out during play, trying to play through pain.
I forgot about that.
So that's my tough guy nomination. But if you guys want to stick with Josh Jacobs, I'm rolling with you guys on that one too, because he didn't play. He played hurt all year long as well.
I'm fine with giving it to Tom.
Yeah, let's give it to Tom.
Let's do Tom.
Just for the blackout
maybe
thing.
Cole.
That is,
yeah, you're blacking out and you're still playing at a high level. I don't know what else to tell you. We can do a co one. I think a deserved co tough guy between Zach Tom and Josh Jacobs would be very warranted in this situation.
All right, I like it.
Most underrated player. I've
This one
given you
should
guys
be fun.
Yeah, I can see us all having different ones here.
We say that and it'll all be the same guy.
Yeah.
I'm going with Evan Williams. I know that he got an all-pro vote, but I think you look at all the star power on this team, and he's a guy who's a former 4th-round pick. I think a lot of people slept on him. I think he could arguably be the 3rd best player on that defense that we have. So my vote would be Evan Williams.
Go ahead, Kalani.
My vote is for somebody right next to Evan Williams. It's Javon Bullard out in the nickel slot there. I thought he did a great job of improving his coverage skills. And there was a streak there kind of in the middle of the season where he was one of PFF's highest rated cornerbacks in the entire league. That did kind of drop off a little bit, but I don't know if you guys have heard him in the locker room in those interviews. Those are always hilarious. He always tells it how it is. I thought he really stepped up his play this year. I'm going to go with Javon Bullard.
I like it.
Well, yeah, we're all gonna have a different one on this. Romeo Dobbs is my underrated, and in a spot where you got Jordan Love, who's playing incredible, obviously slinging him the rock. Christian Watson is doing incredible things. Josh Jacobs. Not that to say that he like got undersold or went completely like missing or anything, and the only kind of wanna his only blemish is the onside kick disaster in Chicago. Other than that, man, he played his butt off. He catches the ball, pretty consistently. He had a hell of a playoff game.
Yep.
I don't know how many yards, touchdown. He caught, that one on one of those last drives with the one hand to extend that. So I just think he's going to get 25 million, whatever he's going to get on the
At least
market
20.
for the wide receivers. And I think we're surely going to miss Romeo Dobbs in a Packers uniform next year.
I'm going to miss
Also
him a
just thought he
lot.
looked like
I'm stuck
he
up for Romeo.
yeah.
Go
Looks
ahead,
like he just
Kalani.
had a lot more fun this season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to find his final stat line for us, Rob, because I know we had our dispute heavily in the offseason about who was more likely to get to 1,000 yards, Romeo Dobbs or Matthew Golden. If you count the playoff game in there, I don't think he was very far off 1,000-yard season. What did he end up with a receiving total for the year? Romeo Dobbs.
Either way, you easily won that.
You mean Golden didn't have almost 1,000 yards?
Damn it.
No. I don't think they're counting his. I think he had 724 yards in the regular season, and he had like 120 something. So he had like about 850 some yards. So, and I think 7 touchdowns, something like that. Really nice season for Romeo. Gonna miss him. I hope he plays for a team that I can stomach watching and doing well, and doesn't end up with a rival. Because I really don't want to hate on Romeo.
Yeah. Don't go to the Vikings or Lions.
So, yeah, okay. I don't know. I don't know that we have to settle this one. We could go 3 underrated players. I do like Javon Bullard a lot, though. He was actually going to be my nomination for our next one for Breakout Player of the Year. So, along with another one that I might have. But, yeah, I could get behind Javon Bullard. I think Bullard's he meant a lot to that defense.
Yeah, Bullard's good. Yep.
So Breakout Player of the Year, I kind of already spoiled my nomination. I had a hard time deciding between Christian Watson and Javon Bullard. Definitely if you go Comeback Player of the Year, Christian Watson's got to be the guy, right? But I don't know. Who did you guys nominate for this category?
For me, this one was Evan Williams.
Yeah. I thought about Watson. Thought about Williams. I think I might go with Williams on this. He's at second best player on the defense, probably, right? Let me just make sure. McKinney's up there for sure, so maybe second or third. But anyway, he's up there as far as importance to this defense. If I saw a stat correct, he led the Packers in run defense in the PFF grade, right? I believe for the season.
That's pretty crazy.
So yeah, as a safety to come down on what he was just a mauler in the run game too. So Evan Williams for me.
Great. We just flipped him around. So we ended up with Javon Bullard as underrated player and Breakout Player of the Year, Evan Williams. And I think both very well deserved. So yeah. Hope you guys had fun with this episode. This was a little longer one. Rob, Kalani, and I don't get a chance to get on and talk Packers ball that much together anymore. Hopefully we can do it a lot more this off season. But just remember, more great Packers content from Sounds Gouda right now every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. That will probably change at some point in time during the off season, but we'll give you a heads up when that does or if it does. But make sure to share this with your family, your friends, and other Packers fans. Hopefully, if you take some time away to heal and lick your wounds, you'll be joining us on the pod here again soon. Always comment. We love to get back to you. I want to hear what you know about our thoughts. Throw your own nominations for award winners in here, or maybe settle some ties for us. But connect with us on X. I'm at Olson Jord. Rob's at Sounds Gouda with 3 A's. And Kalani, what are you? K Jones underscore
IN
in
underscore
underscore.
CO.
Yep, underscore CO. K Jones in Colorado.
Yeah, gotcha. So awesome. Well, until next time, Packers Nation, have a Gouda morning, a Gouda afternoon, and a Gouda night. Go Pack Go.